If you look up the differences between when and while online, you'll probably find a pretty simple and easy to understand guide that states that both words are subordinating conjunctions and we use them in different situations. You've probably read that we use when we are using a simple tense verb, so that means simple past tense or simple present tense. And probably you saw that we use while when we use a verb in the progressive or the continuous tense, and that both of them can be used to talk about actions that happen at about the same time, right? This is a great guide, especially for people who are learning or who just want an easy rule to follow when trying to choose between these two words. But in this video, we're going to break down how that's not actually the entire story, and we're going to talk a lot about the different ways that you can use when and while to change the rhythms of your sentences and just use these two words a bit more fluently. To begin, let's break down that first rule that most people probably know: when versus while in terms of simple tense verbs and progressive tense verbs. Let's take a look at when first. In a sentence like, "When my phone rang, I was teaching," we're using when in the clause when my phone rang, right? When my phone rang uses a verb in the simple past tense, so when is appropriate here when it's used in this clause. Let's compare this to a similar sentence that uses while. My phone rang while I was teaching. In this sentence, we have while in the while I was teaching part. Teaching features a progressive form or a continuous form verb. Both sentences are 100% correct and both sentences are supernatural. Where we get some confusion, however, is when we start to mix when and while in sentences like, "My phone rang when I was teaching." This is also a very natural sentence, so what is going on here? So that standard rule that I talked about at the beginning of this video is a great way to help you decide between these two words, and it kind of gives you a rule for making sure that you don't ever choose the wrong one or one that sounds unnatural. But the truth of the matter is that there are definitely times when native speakers just choose a different word. They might choose when or they might choose while in a sentence like this, and it's going to sound completely natural. So I want to talk a little bit about what is going on here so that you can make better decisions when you want to use when and while. Let's start by talking about one of the key uses of when, and that is to mark interruptions or changes in state or changes in action. So let's take a look at the example sentence, "I had been working for 3 hours when my manager called me." In this example sentence, something was happening for 3 hours. In this case, I had been working for 3 hours. This is a continuing action, right? Then we mark when to show the point of interruption or the point of change or the point at which something different happened. We have when my manager called me, a verb in the simple past tense, right? So in this sense, when is used to mark a change in the situation or a change in the action. We would not use while in this way. This leads us into talking about while. We use while when we want to talk about two actions that were happening simultaneously. So for example, I was taking notes while she was speaking, or I was cooking while my roommate was tidying. We can use while to indicate that these two actions happened at the same time, and they were continuing actions that happened at the same time. So a good rule that you can kind of think about for the future is that you might want to use while when you're talking about the longer of the two actions. So it is important to remember that there is a bit of flexibility when trying to choose between when and while, as in the sentence, "I took notes while she spoke." So these are both just simple past tense expressions, right? And we use while to show that they happened at the same time. You could also say, "I took notes when she spoke." Context does matter though. In this sentence, using when here could mean that this was a regular past action. The speaker always took notes when she spoke. We'll talk a bit more about this later. But using while there kind of shows that the two things were actually occurring at the same time. You could also explain this with, "I was taking notes while she was speaking," if you wanted to as well. So you'll hear native speakers use the two in this manner and kind of choose based on the level of nuance that they wish to communicate. Let's continue then to another use of when. We can also use when to talk about actions that happen one after another, like two things that happen really quickly. So that's not quite simultaneous, but it's two actions that happen very fast after one another. So for example, I jumped when the phone rang. Both of these are really quick and short actions, and they happen one right after another, right? So we would use when to describe this kind of quick sequence of events. We would not use while to do that. So this is another use of when. Now let's talk about a use of while that we absolutely cannot replace with when. This is to use while to express contrasting ideas, and we always use while in the first idea in the sentence. So a great example of this is a sentence like, "While we made a lot of progress today, we still have a lot to do." So this is saying, yes, even though we made a lot of progress today, we still have a lot to do. It's like saying even though or despite or however. We use while to do this, not when. Another use of when that we absolutely cannot replace with while is to talk about past events. So if you want to talk about something from your childhood, from your school days, from something that happened many, many years ago, you use when to do that, as in when I was a kid, or when I was a little girl, or when I was in school. We don't really say while I was in school unless you're talking about something that happened earlier that day, for example. Like, while I was at school today, this and this and this happened. If you want to talk about past events, especially habitual past events, use when to do that, not while. Another use of when is as a substitute for whenever. So for example, I always visit my parents when I come to town. That's an example of using when to show that it's a habitual action that happens whenever you do something else. So in this situation, we cannot use while in when's place. The last use of while that I want to talk about is in the expression a while, or like for a while, something like that. So this while is used to talk about a short duration of time, usually a short duration of kind of undefined time. The way that you'll know that it's this use of while is because it will be preceded with an a. So you'll always see a while, as in for a while or in a while, something like that. So in this use, we're always talking about this kind of short, usually duration of time that something is going to happen in. For example, I haven't seen him in a while. Awesome. So I hope that that's a quick and straightforward breakdown of the differences between when and while. You can leave some of your example sentences in the comments. Of course, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because it helps me to reach more people with this information. So if you enjoyed this video, here's another one that you might like. See you again soon.